Welcome back to Hannity. Earlier this week, the New York Times published an article documenting the growing trend of people from traditionally liberal states migrating en masse to historically conservative states like Virginia, the Carolinas, Texas. Now, of course, we all know what's responsible for this: lower taxes, less regulation, more job opportunities. But in the shadow of the upcoming midterm elections, how will this all impact America's political landscape? Here to break all this down, great governor of Wisconsin, author of the book Unintimidated, A Governor's Story and a Nation's Challenge. It's out in paperback. Governor Scott Walker's back with us. All right, so you come into office. What was your deficit?
We had a $3.6 billion budget deficit, and we had an unemployment rate 4 years ago at the beginning of 2010 that was 9.2%.
All right, so you're down 3 full percentage points in the unemployment rate. And what is your surplus this year?
We have nearly $1 billion in surplus, and we did what
$1 billion
most people should do.
From $6 billion?
Nearly $1 billion is, yep, and we actually did something unique in politics. We gave it back to the hardworking taxpayers. We've cut taxes over the last 3.5 years by some $2 billion. In fact, property taxes this December will literally be lower in 2014 than they were in 2010 when we started.
And this is your third election in 4 years. You've had to run for the same office. You know, I know you won with more margin the second time. Are you concerned that people may take it for granted? Do you think that people of Wisconsin understand that story, and that if they want to continue the prosperity and the success, that they probably need to keep you there?
Well, we think it's a great story, but you know, in that recall election, we won because we got the message out, but we also won because there was a certain percentage of people who I think just voted against the recall. They're fair, decent Midwesterners who just said a recall is not for something like we saw 2 years ago. And so I'm going to have to earn their vote again. This is a state that even though I won 4 years ago and Ron Johnson, who's another great Republican who won the United States Senate seat, it's been 30 years since this state has gone Republican for president, all the way back to when I was in high school. So we got a tight race. We're going to need people. A lot of people helped us out by going to scottwalker.com the last time. We're going to need their help all over again because we got a great message. But remember those unions we took on, the 100,000 protesters they brought in a few years ago, where they're back. Yeah. And this time, instead of protesters, they've got busloads of money taking us on.
But I look at the electoral map. Republicans, as you point out, they can't get Wisconsin. They can't get Michigan. They can't get Minnesota. Then they start out without California, Oregon, Washington. Then they start out without Illinois. And then they start out without New York, New Jersey, and in all likelihood Pennsylvania. You got to run the table if you're a Republican and you want to be elected president. That makes it very hard. Do you think, how do Republicans break that?
I think in the future we got to show, as Republicans did 4 years ago running for governor, that we're not just Republicans, we're reformers. That the R next to our name stands about reform and about putting the power back in the hands of the hardworking taxpayers. And we did that. I think that's part of the reason why we won the recall. We're going to have to do it again. I think Rick Schneider's going to do it. I think John Kasik's going to do it. You look down the name, Susanna Martinez, Nikki Haley, a lot of great Republican, Rick Scott, a lot of great Republican governors are doing just that. And if we can do that this fall with all the money and the tax from the big government union bosses, I have no doubt we can do it again 2 years later.
All right, I think that's a good message for everybody, especially heading into these midterms. Governor, congratulations on the book and paperback. Thank you for being with us. And we'll have you